Hi guys again. So I'm going to talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I lived in Bosnia for around 7 months last year. I had to come home a little early because of the pandemic. And I really enjoyed it. It was a ton of fun. So Bosnia and Herzegovina is in Europe. It's a small country in southeastern Europe and an area known as the Balkans. And Bosnia has a really rich history. It's been a part of several empires, including the Ottoman Empire, and then it was a part of Yugoslavia, and now it is Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I'll kind of get a little bit more into the history as we go through the music because the music really ties into the history. Bosnia is a word coming from an ancient language, an ancient European language that means water, and it's named this because there's so many rivers and lakes and waterfalls throughout the country, and it's really pretty. Bosnia also has a lot of mountains and it's very green there, as you can see in the bottom two pictures. Um, and then in the center, that's the flag. All right. Hi again, everyone. Okay, so um, if you could go to the next slide, please, Liz. All right, so just gonna start off. These are some traditional Bosnian instruments. So first you have the saz. There's two other names, so I put those down below, but the saz is the most common. Um, Shargia is another Bosnian name, and then the second word is a Turkish name, and I don't know Turkish, so I don't know how to pronounce that, and I'm not gonna try, or else I'm gonna butcher it. Um, so yeah, that's it. Kind of looks like a guitar almost, or a mandolin. And then the second picture there is in Bosnia, it's known as a harmonica. But I think you guys will know it by another name, and that's an accordion. And so the accordion is a traditional instrument, but it's also used in a lot of modern music. Um, so yeah, next slide, please. So starting off, I'm going to talk about a traditional type of music and kind of work my way to modern. So the Sevdalinka is very traditional, and there a lot of them are stories, and they are put to music. So if you remember from when I was talking about Bosnia earlier, Bosnia used to be a part of the Ottoman Empire, and that was an empire that was based in Turkey. So it spread kind of throughout the Middle East, throughout Europe, and a little into Africa as well. And so the Sebdelinka is very heavily based on this Turkish influence, and some of the songs have Turkish words in them. And actually, Bosnian itself has a lot of Turkish words too. So this song that I have right here is Amina, and I have two versions of it. The first one is by Alma Ferovic Fazlic. That's important because Amina is originally a poem that was turned into a song, and the poem is by Alexis Shantic, and it's about Amina Sepic. And Alma Ferovic Fazlic is Amina Sepic's great granddaughter. So it's very interesting because she grew up to be this famous singer, and she was able to sing this song about her great grandmother. So if you could play that. So it's very traditional. And then the next one is by Himzo Polovina. And this is probably the most famous version of the song.
Ja joj nazvah se jest tako mi divna, nešće ni da čuje, lijepa Emina.
Yeah, Himzo Polovina, it's a much more traditional version, but they're still both, they have that traditional sub. Two more Sevdalinkas here, just so you can kind of get a more feel to it. The first one is Chunayada od Mostara Grada. And this is a very traditional one. You can hear that traditional sound similar to the last one just played. And that one, honestly, it really reminds me of a very traditional folk music that people will dance to during weddings and performances, and just when they want to have fun, they'll dance around to it. So when I think of that, I think of those dances. And then the second one here is Razbaleh Se Sultan Suleiman. And this one's really interesting because I'm not sure about the story that goes with the other song because I don't know the exact translation for that title. But this one is about a sultan for the Ottoman Empire. He's getting sick, and his son is asking him, "Do you have any regrets?" And so the clip that will be played is him saying, "My only regret is leaving Bosnia." So it's really interesting because you see that tie with the Ottoman Empire and the history in Bosnia. And also, as you see in the background there, there's an accordion playing. And so that's a more modern version of the song, but it still keeps that classic accordion sound to it. All right, and next we have XU music. So XU stands for ex-Yugoslavia, and as I mentioned earlier, Bosnia and Herzegovina used to be a part of Yugoslavia, which was six republics made into one right after World War One and lasting until the 1990s. And so as the president of Yugoslavia, like the most famous president is President Tito. And after he died, it kind of slowly started to crumble. And it was during this time that this music was produced. But this music is still very heavily listened to. I mean, when I first arrived, for language, I wanted to find a bunch of music to listen to just so I could constantly hearing the language, because that's helps you learn the language better. And so when I asked all my friends, they were like, XU music, it's the best music. Modern music can't compete. No other music can compete. So it's still very widely listened to throughout all of the countries of former Yugoslavia. And the first video is by Zabranjeno Pušenje. And all the bands have really interesting names. So Zabranjeno Pušenje, it literally means no smoking. And then Crvena jabuka means red apple, and Bijelo dugme is white button. So they have these really fun and interesting names. And as you'll hear in a second, they're very heavily based off of Western like rock and pop. So they have influences in the Beatles, Queen, which I think some people mentioned they like to listen to early. And yeah, if you could go ahead and play that first video, then. And yeah, so that was Zabrania Pushing. And you can, at least I was able to hear that very rock vibe with the guitar and the drums. And the next one is served by Servant and Yabuka, and they're my personal favorite. I love.
In the chat, they said that that one made them dance. I think they meant the rock one.
Oh, I'm glad.
All right,
I like to dance to it too. I see students are enjoying these. I'm glad to see that. Feel free to look them up. They're all on YouTube. This is my favorite era from Bosnia, and I always just like, I'll go and like listen to a playlist on YouTube or Spotify. Just look up XU music. I'll come up. All right, and next we have I'm going to talk about one singer, Dino Marilyn, and he is very famous. So he started off in singing XU music, and so his first song "Donna Sam Okay," which literally means "Today I Am Okay," um, was in the 80s, so it was during this time of XU music. But then he continues, and he's still making music today. I think he just released a song recently, but called Si Vrakla Dame Volish is from 2000s, and that means when you say that you love me. And I really love listening to him. And yeah, if you want to play that first video, Liz. Yeah, so it kind of also has that rock vibe to it. All right, and so Dino Marilyn, he's also very important to the Bosnian people. When Bosnia gained its independence in 1995, he was the one who wrote the very first national anthem. It's been changed since then, but uh, he can claim that he wrote the first one. Also, so Bosnia is very divided between three ethnicities, and I believe all of them can like they all unite for their love of Dino Merlin. I mean, I didn't meet a single person who didn't like him, who didn't, when I asked about music, wouldn't say his name. So music is a very powerful way to unite people, and I think he definitely represents that. And moving on to modern music, so modern music now definitely takes its um, vibe, or it definitely looks to kind of Western rap and pop, and it's heavily influenced in that. But it also is very different, and it has its influence in Bosnian previous music and Sevdalinka's and Nexiu music, and it kind of takes this and brings it to a modern way. And the very first video is by Yala Brat, and he is a very famous singer. And actually, this song is 99 or Devet Deset Devet. And when I had to take a field trip with my school when I was in Bosnia, and I remember just like they were blasting music with a speaker in the back of the bus, and then this song comes on, and everybody sings, and I was just like, "What is going on?" I didn't know Bosnian at this point, but it was really cool to see everyone kind of connecting over this one song. So if you want to go ahead and play that.
Pazita, da ne zna za bonton, ko što praznika pali, tako ti praznik konto. Mazi se, a da nisi ni skonto, ostaneš bez svega, kontek za si je smoto. Je to je to, čega se bojim, 99, žena da me voli, 99, da mi ljube roli, a ona da mi...
I'm glad they're dancing. So yes, this is a very, very popular song. It came out right before I went to Bosnia, and I believe it's still popular now. But he continued this singer or rapper, Yala Brat, continues to make music and is still very popular and always like at the top of the hits in Bosnia. And then this next song is by a band called Helam Nese, and it's a bit more rap to it. But they're also very popular, and they're part of a group called FM Jam. I believe I'm not too familiar with their music, but a friend recommended them to me when I told her I was making this presentation. She was like, "You have to include them," and I listened to them, and I was like, "Wow, they're really good." And FM Jam is a group of artists that come together and make music every now and then, but then they also make their own separate music, and I think they have a radio station. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, if you want to play that song.
Priliku kad ima ona odmah ubere je I kada nisam dobar ona opet uz mene je A kad na mene njene oči budu uperene Znam na jedno samo misli su joj usmjerene Umiljati dodir od nje kada dobio bi Sve bi dao za nju i sve druge odbio bi Da imam 9 života na nju potrošio bi
Yeah, it has a lot more of that rap. And they have a lot of other music too that I really enjoy.